Alright guys, welcome back to another voiceover breakdown. This week's going to be a little bit shorter because I'm sort of piggybacking off a technique that I explained in depth last week, which is a variation of a double collar pressure pass. And what I'm looking at this week is a way to attack actually single leg X off the same pass that we looked at. So I'm not going to spend much time breaking down the details of this pass. I'm actually going to leave a link right here in the top left corner. So if you want to check out the video where I go into a lot more detail about this pass and why I do what I do, please click on that. I'll also leave a link in the description box below so you can take a look at that when you like. So we're just gonna go on here and sort of breeze through this a bit, just talking about good position and posture and base as I try to attack. A good starting point for a lot of passes is to make sure that your posture and your stability is good. So I go along here and I grab my double collar grip, and again, compression's really important here. I'm really pulling my opponent into me to weaken his posture, to make that leg on my hip very weak so it's easy for me to use my elbow to sort of clear it off. That compression's really important, so I go ahead here and I clear it off my hip. And again, I'm just mentioning here that this compression aspect super important, because if I'm very lax here, he could sweep me easily. And now here's where we start to turn the corner, and this is sort of where we start to venture into a different technique, okay? So last week, what I was looking at is using this sort of cutting the angle to start to base and backstep, okay? One thing I highlighted in the video last week is that I have to be careful about where his right leg is in this scenario, okay? So if I were to backstep, I would post with my left hand and do a nice high backstep over his right leg. A problem we can run into sometimes is that our opponent sort of tracks us with that right leg, meaning he doesn't leave it low on the ground, his foot isn't flat. He kind of knows that, look, this guy's probably going to look to backstep here, so he's almost going to maybe use his foot as a hook to lace my leg, or he's just going to use his leg to kind of block my ability to backstep. And that can be frustrating, and that could be a real problem. So what I like about this attack from here is that it gives us a couple options, okay? So let's, for example, say here that I want a backstep pass, but my opponent isn't letting me for whatever reason. His leg is in good position. I'm dealing with a very experienced grappler, somebody that maybe knows my game well, and he's prepared to stuff the backstep. Well, I'm in a great position here to now attack a knee bar, okay? So what I'm going to do is the same thing we did last time in last week's technique. I'm going to V-grip low on his shin/ankle right at the end of the lever, and it's really important that I crush this hook, okay? Whether I intend to backstep or whether I intend to set up this knee bar, I really need to kill this inside hook, okay? And so you'll notice that I'm staying incredibly low here. Again, I don't want to be tall. I'm keeping a lot of pressure with my left knee on his chest. I'm framing at his neck and shoulder to keep his shoulders kind of flat so he's not as mobile. And what I really need to do is make sure that I can clear my right leg around his hook, okay? So a lot of pressure with my right hand here, that V grip. Again, I don't like to grab the pants here because I find that it allows more mobility of his leg, okay? So by using this no-gi style V grip, it really isolates his limb where I need it most. So I want to crush his heel to his butt cheek, essentially, okay? And as we roll on here, what you're going to see is, in slow motion here, notice how I circle my right leg to the inside here, okay? So it's super important. I've cleared his instep, so now he can't use that as a hook to track me or try to sweep me. The important thing here is that I circle my leg to the inside and I start to draw my heel to his butt, okay? I don't want my right leg to be loose and hanging out wide. I really want to make contact sort of with his tailbone, okay? And the other thing you'll notice I do here too is I do what I call a scoop grip under his leg, okay? So I went from a V grip on his shin to a nice like hugging, scooping grip around his thigh here, okay? So now I'm really starting to isolate his leg here. The nice thing about this too is that even here, if my opponent starts to change his attack, maybe now he's worried about the knee bar, for example, and he drops his back leg, I could still easily complete the back step here too by basing out. So again, I like to have a couple of different options here instead of just focusing on one attack. Always be aware that through this whole situation, I can still do the back step pass, or I can attack the knee bar. So I'm putting him in a bit of a predicament here, okay? So as we go along here, I've got this nice scoop grip under his thigh, and again, the point I'm trying to make here is stabilize before attacking, okay? I feel like I see a lot of people that they see a leg attack and they get too excited and they get too sloppy and they just, you know, lazily rotate and fall. Everything's loose and your opponent just kicks and gets away, okay? So I want to maintain nice pressure on his chest, okay? I want to maintain a nice scoop grip here because I want to keep all my options in play. I don't want to just, you know, haphazardly commit to this knee bar and give up a great position, okay? So I'm based out nice here. I've got frames on his shoulder, near his neck. I've got my right leg planted. I've got a scoop grip, and I've got my knee pressuring into his chest, okay? So I feel very stable here, so I'm keeping my options open, okay? Now you'll see what I do here is now I really start to commit to the knee bar right here. And what I need to do is use that scoop grip and start to really draw this leg to my chest, okay? I don't want to just be lazy with my arm. I need to secure it. I'm hugging it to my chest. And now you'll notice my left arm placement is different than last week's technique where I went to backstep. Here's where I'm committing to the knee bar. And what I mean by that is, if I was gonna backstep, I wouldn't base my arm out this far and this wide. Basing my arm out in this position actually allows me to make my left leg light this time. So last week we looked at my arm position was a little bit different. It was back more, it was closer to his shoulder, because the intention there was actually to make my right leg lighter so that I could backstep. But once I've committed to this knee bar position, I actually want to make sure that I put some weight on my right foot this time and on my arm so that it allows me a bit more mobility with my back left leg so that I can rotate into position. So I'm going to put all my weight forward as I hug with his leg. My left arm's based out, and now you'll see my left leg is actually sliding across his chest at this point, okay? You can still see in my opponent's face that there's still pressure on him, okay? So I'm actually kind of dragging my shin across his belly, okay? I don't want to just get so light that I create a ton of space. I still want to be like sliding sort of like a baseball slide around his thigh here, okay? So don't relieve too much pressure as you do this. Make it uncomfortable for your opponent as you do this, okay? So now I've got a nice base with my left hand, and as we run through here, you'll see that I make a nice tight circle around his knee, okay? And so what I mean by that is I need to make sure that I don't over-rotate here, okay? So you'll notice as my left hip hits the ground, I kind of stop in place here, and my first instinct is to extend his leg, okay? So I'm just doing one grip variation that you can do here, but I try to grab near the end of the lever, okay? And what that means is I try to grab closer to his ankle, okay? And I do this because I don't want him to be able to triangle his legs in order to defend this, okay? If I were to grab a little lower near his knee, his hamstring can engage, and it can be very difficult to keep the leg extended, okay? The leg's powerful even if you get two hands on it. Some people's legs and hamstrings are very strong. They can curl it and you lose the position, okay? So I find that the closer you get to the end of the leg, the weaker the hamstring becomes, so it's much harder for them to retract the leg into a triangle, and then we've got to deal with a whole other situation to attack the knee bar, okay? So I've got a nice position here. I'm extending his leg. I've got a nice grip on it. I fall, and again here, I'm not just falling haphazardly. I like to try to always trap the foot right between my ear, okay? I want sort of a bit of like a sandwich happening here. I want my ear over his foot, over my shoulder, over the ground, okay? So there's a nice stacked position here. There's a lot of sort of reinforced controls here. I've got my hand in place. I've got my head using my neck to trap the foot. And the importance of this is because I don't want him to start to rotate and turn away. I see a lot of people in knee bars that just sort of hug the leg to their chest, and they still allow their opponent the ability to sort of rotate away. And that's really difficult to finish a knee bar in against a skilled opponent, okay? So some people will refer to this as kind of like answering the telephone, but again, I'm trying to stack my grips in a way so that it makes it incredibly difficult for him to escape this position, okay? So we've got it trapped between my ear and my neck here as we roll through. Now it's a little bit, I should have done this from another angle, so it's a little bit harder to see, but I have a couple of other videos that I've posted about knee bar attacks that I did off De La Riva. Again, I'll leave a link in the description box below. I have a couple of videos where I get a little bit deeper into the mechanics of finishing the knee bar, but what I'm basically doing that you can't see here is that right hand that was kind of extending his leg near his ankle, I now grip his heel with it, okay? Again, another layer of reinforcement that prevents him from rotating away, okay? I'm essentially locking his leg in place like this. So now I've got a nice strong grip on his heel. I've got his foot and ankle trapped between my neck and my arm. I've got some weight on it. Really difficult for him to move here, okay? The other thing I do is I make a rear naked choke grip with my arm, okay? So I find that to be a really strong position. Again, reinforced grips, hard for him to move. And now the mechanics of the finish come in. I find a lot of people just really extend and arch their body, okay? And I think that that's, again, you can finish the knee bar by doing that, but I think the most important thing is to make sure that everything stays locked in place. I never want to arch my body and allow his foot to slide from my shoulder down to my chest, okay? I need to keep his foot on my shoulder the entire time. I want to transmit all the force of this through his knee joint, okay? And so what I do here is I pinch my thighs really tightly together, okay? And it's like an arm bar. It's much harder to finish an arm bar if your legs are just wide open, okay? We all learn that you pinch your thighs together, you dig your heels together into the ground, pull your hamstrings in, make everything nice and tight. And the key is to hinge forward at the hips, okay? Hips first. It's not an arch as if I'm trying to look backwards and behind me. If I do that, I'm going to open up space, and a skilled leg locker is going to get out of this relatively easily, okay? So nice and slow here. You see that I just engage the hips. You're not going to see a lot of movement or my head sliding and slipping away from his foot. It's going to stay locked in place. I'm going to transmit all that force right through the knee. You can sort of see in my opponent's face, he's grimacing here, and I'm barely putting really any pressure into this at all, okay? All right, guys, so that's about it. Just sort of a quick look at a cool setup to a knee bar here that I like to attack sometimes from passing single leg X with this backstep style pass. Again, it's good to play off both options, meaning that don't just sell out necessarily for the pass. If the knee bar is there, you can threaten with it, and it may open up the pass for you, or the pass may open up the knee bar for you. I think you'll find you'll have more success finishing techniques on better grapplers when you have more than one attack in play at the same time, okay? So I hope you enjoy these voiceover breakdowns. If you do, please leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Please subscribe, like, and share. I hope you're getting something out of this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.